What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTV Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well. If you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. In this video today, talking about some big news that we were relatively expecting, but John Harbaugh today said that David Ojabo could make his debut this Sunday. That's massive. That is critical. That is crucial. Now, how much that impacts whether or not the Ravens win on Sunday, I think is negligible. I don't think, whether or not he plays is going to change very much for the Ravens. Him playing soon is not about him dominating in that first week. It's not about him coming in. It's not like if Lamar Jackson was injured and, we have, Huntley starting and it's like, oh my gosh, we need Lamar Jackson. Boom, he can come back. And then it's like, oh yeah, automatically changes everything, right? Games where Marlon Humphrey misses, when he comes back, it's going to be, wow, that drastically increases the chances of winning. David Ojabo, it's not like that. Could he be a great player from the jump? Absolutely. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the Baltimore Ravens are looking for David Ojabo for the postseason. They're looking for him to develop. And the sooner he gets on that football field, the sooner the rookie mistakes, the sooner the early game jitters, the sooner the problems and struggles that a young rookie will have and a young player coming off of a severe injury will have, get those out of the way. So when the Ravens need to win out, they can. And you have to win out to win the Super Bowl, right? You got to win your last 3 or 4 games, depending on if you get that bye or not. So when we're talking about you got to win out, you technically do once you get to those spots. So David Ojabo being able to potentially come back is massive, especially at a position where we're actually starting to see some good stuff. The edge rusher position has been a problem for the last since Terrell Suggs left, really, and I'm not trying to say that some of the players that we had were bad. Matthew Judon was a really good player. Wasn't able to get sacks out of him, though, due to the scheme that we were running. Shout out to Matthew Judon, balling out. Shout out to Zadarius Smith as well. Zadarius Smith, Justin Houston, and Matthew Judon are the top 3 in sacks in the NFL. All former Ravens or current Ravens, which is always pretty nice to see. We had the right guys in the building, but David Ojabo being able to come in and play with Justin Houston in certain snaps is going to be crucial, because the problem we had when we had Odafe Oweh was, his rookie year was, yeah, he's our number 1 pass rusher. And so he's going up against guys and they're focusing him. They were double teaming him. He was triple teamed at points in his rookie year. David Ojabo's not going to have that, even though he is a better prospect, a better draft, profile pre-injury than David Ojabo was. I'm sorry, than Odafe Oweh was. Remember, David Ojabo was a projected pick, maybe top 10, but the Ravens at 14, it was like, yeah, that would be a great spot for him to go. And me as a Ravens fan, I was like, is he even going to fall to 14? I don't know if we're going to be able to get this man. His talent is there, and he's going to be able to come in and not have to be the primary. And we have seen what NFL players and rookies that are good, NFL-ready pass rushers, because we also have to remember Odafe was drafted as a long-term project. He was not seen as, he's going to come in like Chase Young, come in like a Bosa and dominate. But the thing is, when you look at those NFL-ready players that come in and they do play well, they almost always are playing with another player that's very good, right? You want to look at Joey Bosa. Comes in, who's opposite him? Melvin Ingram. You look at Nick Bosa. Who's opposite of him? He's got a great defensive line. He's got a DeForest Buckner, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. I believe he had D Ford that year, who was one of the best, situational pass. He was probably the best situational pass rusher in the NFL. He had all of these assets around him, and they were able to come in and dominate. Chase Young came in, monster, and he had a great defensive line. Deron Payne, was one of those big guys. That was just a great front that they had. Montez Sweat as well. They may have had Ryan Kerrigan. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know they had Montez Sweat. They had Payne. And they had some other really good players. And so that allows them to get those early sacks. It's very difficult for players to come in, especially at an edge rusher position, a position where you can get focused. It's very difficult to come in and dominate from the jump. Again, I'm not expecting David Ojabo to dominate, but he's in a situation that could potentially allow him to dominate at some point early in his career, because he's not being expected to be the number one. The Ravens have very good pass rushers. Justin Houston, 8.5 sacks. Hasn't even played in every game this year. I think he's played in basically like 5 games and a quarter of a game. 8.5 sacks in like less than 5.5 games is pretty darn good. Then you have guys like JPP who have been able to play well, getting sweats. You have interior pressure, Justin Madubuike, Travis Jones, Calais Campbell, all really good. Broderick Washington even, all really good players. He is just coming in. Adafe away as well. Great edge setter. David Ojabo is going to be able to come in, it's going to take a little bit to really find his exact role, figure out exactly what he needs to do, because we remember Ravens week 2, week 3, week 4, we were worried about this defense. I wasn't that worried about it, but I had talked about it because there were concerns. Hey, the Ravens defense is giving up all these big plays. The Ravens defense isn't getting enough sacks. The Ravens defense allowing too many points. And it was like, at the same time, it's a new defensive coordinator. They're using rookie secondary members. They're going to get better when they learn this new system. They've learned the system. They've adjusted. And now the Ravens defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I've said this before, I will say it again. I believe when the playoffs start, the Ravens defense will be looked at as the best defense in the NFL, as long as there are no injuries. In addition to the David Ojabo news, I want to talk a little bit about other things, in this video, because it's just kind of an overall news video. Some news came out today about the Ravens. Let me know what your thoughts are on David Ojabo potentially coming back. But let's talk about Mark Andrews as well, because Mark Andrews, he's questionable for this upcoming game. He hasn't been seen in the media portions of practice this week. Yesterday, it's come out that he did practice for a little bit. I haven't seen any reports on whether or not he did practice for a little bit today. I know he did not come out for the media report session. So it could be another week without him. And Greg Roman was talking about, Josh Oliver today in his press conference, talking about how the strides he's made. And I would agree. I think, the joke was when we got him, we got a weapon like Josh Oliver. So we started calling him the weapon. And he is like actually kind of turned into a weapon on the offensive side of the ball. He and Lamar have actually developed some pretty good chemistry. He's become a good run blocker. And speaking of run blockers, I don't know if people know this. Isaiah Likely is the number 1 graded by PFF, number 1 graded run blocking tight end in the NFL. And that's pretty shocking initially because he was so bad in preseason. But at the same time, I haven't noticed any regular season plays where I've been like, man, he missed that block. Man, there's a holding call. He doesn't really have any. He's actually pancaked a couple of guys. Like, he's been really physical in the run game. His game where he had, his first touchdown, he had that big game. He talked about it after. He was like, man, I was blocking. I know Coach Harp saw that. Like, he's like, I know we're going to be watching that on film. Isaiah Likely, if Mark Andrews has to miss, another game, I'm not overly worried about it because of Isaiah Likely and Josh Oliver. Gus Edwards, again, another guy, Gus Edwards, could miss this game. He's been practicing, so it's more likely that he plays, I think, than Mark Andrews. But even if you were to miss, Kenyon Drake has looked fantastic. And if Gus Edwards plays, Kenyon Drake is still going to play a major role in this run game. So, the Ravens have some players that may not play this week. Even though they are, foundational pieces to their offense, I'm not overly worried if they have to miss. And that is not me talking about the quality of opponent that the Ravens are playing, in the Carolina Panthers. This has nothing to do with that. I would say that I think the same thing, maybe if we were going up against the Buffalo Bills or a top, one of the best teams in the NFL, but 20, there's probably 28 teams in the NFL that I would be completely fine with the core that the Ravens are going to be going out there with because they're lacking injury, because Kenyon Drake has been so good, because the replacements have really been able to step up so well in Kenyon Drake, Isaiah Likely, and Josh Oliver. Also, Charlie Kohler could be coming back at some point relatively soon. So a lot of things to look forward to with the Ravens this week. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts, and ideas preparing for, this big game against the Carolina Panthers against Baker Mayfield. This upcoming Sunday. Also, big game in Thursday Night Football tonight. Tennessee Titans, who are in front of the Baltimore Ravens in the playoff standings. They're taking on Aaron Rodgers. I got to say, I've actually just got the jersey right next to me. Go Packers tonight. That's going to be a fun one. I cannot wait to watch that game. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.